Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Mic Drop Show where we talk about real estate, real freedom, and real results. Hey, I'm your host, Mike Morawski, investor, educator, and favorite deal sourcing cash flow obsessed guide through the wild world. We're going to talk about deal breakdowns, capital raising strategies, and war stories right from the field. This is the show for professionals who want to go from paycheck to portfolio. If you're feeling the energy, don't forget to subscribe. Smash that like button and follow wherever you're watching or listening. Hey, if you got questions, drop them in the comments or in the DM or DM me. Your topic might be the next one on the Mic Drop Show. We've got great questions this week for sure. We go live every Wednesday. So if you know somebody too who would be a great guest on this show, please definitely send us a message on that and we will try and get them on the show. But every Wednesday we go live. This is your weekly wealth workout. All right, let's jump into it. Three great questions today. The first one is, how do you figure out who your ideal investor is when you're just getting started? You know, that's a great question. I get that a lot from the coaching clients that I work with and a lot of other investors. And, just in conversation at networking events or other seminars and events I go to, that question comes up a lot. And this goes to your avatar. Something I have found really interesting about this question is, who are you and what do you do? I'll give you an example. I work with a couple of chiropractors and we have really started to build a platform for chiropractors around the country. It's interesting. Their slogan really is, you don't get rich from chiropractic. So what they're doing is they're doing financial education to chiropractors, teaching them about real estate investing and alternatives. And they have just really started to build a platform. So they're doing different things that are specifically targeted at that group of demographics, that group of people. So they have lead magnets that work for those individuals, for chiropractors. They do events. They have booths at events. And what they're doing is they're building a database of chiropractors around the country that are potential private investors to come in and invest in multifamily syndications. So if you're a multifamily syndicator or a real estate investor and you're raising capital, where did you come from? What was your job? Were you an engineer? Were you in the IT field? Are you a doctor? Are you an anesthesiologist? Whatever your field is, start to focus in on that. You have another coaching client I'm working with who is a sales, is the service manager in a car dealership. And we're starting a program where he's going to start going to the general managers of car dealerships around the country and talking to them about real estate investing. So what part of the field are you in your industry that you can go to the people who are making the most money in that industry and market to them to build your investor platform, right? Because we're all in this business to build relationships with LPs, with private investors, and bring them in, raise capital, and bring them into our deals so that we can all share in the profits. And by focusing in on that demographic, so build your avatar, right? Go out, figure out who those people are with the higher net worth, the people that maybe have investable income, maybe have retirement income that they can redirect and reinvest. So what's that age demographic? Is it male? Is it female? Is it a specific industry? But if you focus in on your industry or where your background is, what you did in your W-2 as a job, that's going to give you a great leg up on being able to communicate with you in that same field or that same industry. So I hope that helps a little bit. If you have more questions on any of that, or, don't hesitate, throw them in the chat this morning, or DM me on the side, and we'll definitely get questions answered for you and help you with that. And, if you're ever looking for, some networking and a personal conversation, don't hesitate to reach out, because I love to do that. Question number 2, and this came from a listener from last week, but he said, I'm torn as I've done a ton of research, and I'm wondering what the best first rental purchase that they should buy. Should I buy a single family? Should I buy a multifamily? There's that old adage that is, it's just as hard to close a 20 unit property as it is to close a 200 unit property. It's only a couple of more zeros, right? You have to raise a little bit more money, but it's just as hard. I'm right now with one of my coaching clients in my partnership program. I'm closing a 24 unit apartment deal. And the work that we're going through, it makes me think, this could be 200 units. We could be doing a 200 unit deal, but, sometimes it's easier for somebody new to start a little smaller. So if you are somebody just getting into the business, and, what the economies of scale and the strength in multifamily has to offer, and especially being on a GP team, maybe you start a little smaller. There's a couple of strategies behind that. I've owned over 200 single family houses over the years. And, I always had 200 roofs, 200 furnaces, 200 hot water heaters. And, there were constant challenges with all of that. That's a big portfolio of single family to own. Well, when I realized the economies of scale with multifamily, and that I could own a 200 unit complex and have, 5 furnaces, 5 boilers, 5 hot water heaters, 5 roofs, that makes a big difference in your investing strategy. And it cuts your costs, your expenses below where, single family leaves you. And then the other thing that I personally don't like about single family is, if somebody lives there and we get into a tough rental market, and you have to pay a $2,000, $3,000 a month mortgage out of your pocket, that becomes painful. Where, multifamily, if I'm 10 or 20% vacant, I can still pay my mortgage. So that makes a big difference. So, what is your risk tolerance as an investor? You could start with a 100 unit deal. You could start with a 4 unit deal. Another strategy, and I love this one. This is from a lender that I know, and who specializes in FHA. And FHA is the federal loan program that's backing the bank who gives you money, right? Fair Housing Authority, and it's an insurance program. But with FHA, you can go buy a 4 unit property that you live in. You live in one of the units, you house hack the other 3 units, you rent them, and then a year later, go and buy a 3 unit, live in one of those, do the same FHA type of financing, then go do the same thing with a duplex, and then go buy your single family home. And the cash flow from the 4 unit, the 3 unit, and the 2 unit will help you pay the mortgage on the house that you live in. I think that's a brilliant strategy for somebody who is trying to start small, maybe just do everything on your own even. But then there's the strategy of larger multifamily. And when I work with my coaching clients, I really try to evaluate, where are you mindset wise? What do you feel that you can accomplish? What do you feel that you can achieve? And based on that, we go out and we'll try to buy a 20 unit, or we'll buy a 50 or a 60 unit deal. It just depends on that person and what you want to accomplish. So, if you're looking to design your own strategy, if you're looking to set some of your own goals, we have some great resources that could help you do that. I have a goal setting and planning coaching session that I do, and I do it in January every year. And it comes with a workbook, but it gives you the ability to sit down and just kind of pencil out what you want to achieve and get really clear on your why and why you want to achieve that. The clearer you are, the better your strategy is around executing. We can have great business plans, we can have great goals, but if we don't have good execution, that's where it falls apart for a lot of people. So, it comes down to mindset, your own personal belief, and what you want to achieve and the clarity around that. So build an avatar based on, who you are, what you do, and put together your first deal based on what you feel your risk tolerance is and where you're going with your portfolio. And then the third question came one of a woman last week who had listened to the show. She had said, how do I figure out what type of investor I actually want to be, or actually I am? Am I an operator? Am I a general capital? Am I a capital raiser, or am I just a passive investor? Well, how involved do you want to be? And I had a conversation with her around this question, and I said, you know do you do you like the job that you're at? Do you want to stay there? And she really did. She was a nurse and wanted to continue to do that. She loved giving back and felt that that was her way of doing that. I said, maybe the best thing for you is passive investing and investing in someone else's syndication, maybe doing a joint venture in a fix and flip or a small multifamily project. So as a passive investor, again, one of the things you want to do is you want to evaluate your risk tolerance. And, let me give you an opportunity right now that you can go and take a risk tolerance test to see what kind of a store to 224 269 6700. So 224 269 6700. Text the word investor to that number. It's going to give you a 10-question quiz. Take that quiz. You're going to get an email back within a minute that's going to tell you, hey, this is the type of space that you should invest in. This is the type of investor you should be. And that will give you some direction and some guidance about what you're doing. Do you want to be an operator? Do you want to be that hands-on investor? Do you want to be the part of the general partner team, the one that's taking care of the asset management, all the moving parts, the finding the deal, the sourcing the deal, the underwriting, the due diligence, and then the operations? If you are not going to be able to pay attention to the details along the way, and do the asset management and make sure that your property managers and on-site people are doing their job and their job functions, then being an operator might not be for you. You might be able to be part of a GP team as maybe an underwriter or a due diligence expert, but really figure out what you're good at. Get in a coaching program, go through all of the fundamentals, all of the moving parts, I like to call it, everything that's involved. There's probably 38 or 40 different things that happen in a multifamily syndication from beginning to end. And learn all those things, figure out what you're really good at. Once you understand who you are and what you're really good at, that's going to help you put together a good team and other people around you. And then the third option that we had talked about was capital raising. There is a huge space in the market for people who can raise capital. And if you have a great database and you have high net worth individuals around you and you are a great relationship builder and you're an extrovert and you're going to go to a lot of events and you're going to do social media, and you're going to build a platform, a database of investors, then you know what? A capital raiser might be the place for you to be, because you can always partner as a general partner on a team to, when you find an operator who has a great deal, and raise capital for that operator. So I hope that that answers some questions this week. If you have questions that you're always looking at, don't hesitate to throw those out at us. Our team will vet those, and we'll get them on the show the next week. But I hope that everybody is having a great week. Remember, one thing I always talk about is being intentional, right? Being intentional in what we do. As I said earlier, you can have a great business plan, you can have a great strategy, but it's in the intentionality, the execution of what you're doing. Because, every day can show up differently for you. And if you don't have intention and you don't have things blocked out in your calendar and your schedule that you're going to show up for, like prospecting to raise capital, you're gonna falter at some level. So hope everybody had a great Easter and a great weekend, got some downtime, and was able to spend some time with family and have some great groceries. But that's a wrap on today's episode. That's the Mic Drop Show. And I hope you're walking away with a nugget or two, maybe a little mindset shift, some strategies, or even a blueprint, or adding to your blueprint to help you move forward. Listen, wealth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. It happens by design and by our action. So whether you're just getting started, you're scaling, or you're leveling out your business, keep showing up. That's what we have to do. We keep showing up. I've seen a lot of people over the last couple of years, because the market got a little tougher, that they pivoted to another asset class, thinking that that would be easier. I've been in this space for a lot of years, and I know that, you stay focused, you stay committed to the process, the education part of it, the taking action part of it, that you're going to achieve your goals that you want to see or want to achieve. If this episode gave you value, do me a solid this morning, please. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. Out. I have a great team behind me that is sharing information, sharing data. I couldn't do any of this without my team, and I appreciate them. Share this with someone who is out there getting in the business, has questions about the business, they're building a portfolio. Somebody wants to build a portfolio and not just a paycheck anymore. And if you've got a question, a topic you want me to cover, or a guest you want to see on the show, drop it in the comments, send me a DM. I read every one of them. So same time next week, same energy. But until then, stay focused, stay cash flowing, and stay stacking those doors. Have a great